This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping at the wall, it's gone! A towering drive into center field by Rooker.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
A judge gets last. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Swung on, hit high, hit deep to right, away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
We've got some excitement back here at the ballpark. And all of a sudden, the season's a little bit more fun again. That's right. It is time for A's Cast Live here on A's Cast, all of our streaming, and, of course, on 650 KSTE and also KWNR-FM, The Bull, HD2 in Las Vegas. I hope everybody either got to listen or watch last night, or at least got to see the highlights, because it was absolutely incredible to watch Nick Kurtz get his first career walk-off home run. Do we have the video, Commander?
Give me a second. I have it in here somewhere.
I mean, it was an absolute bomb, 447-foot blast, the longest walk-off HR by an A's player in the StatCast era. Who was next?
I think it was Yonder Alonso had the next one. I think Martine had the tweet, or it might have been in the MLB notes.
Get the video first.
Yeah, the video's uploading. Martine had it, I think, in the but I think MLB notes had it. So it was like Yonder Alonso.
It wasn't no offense, Yonder. It wasn't a name that it'd be like, wow,
that's MLB. That's MLB Network's own Yonder Alonso.
Like I said,
I got to hear everybody say, "Oh, it's the big league."
Yeah, it's the big leagues. Yeah. Like I said, it's not Yoenis Cespedes. I'm thinking of guys who really hit big home runs. But it was spectacular. It was a lot of fun. And just to see the emotion and to see the team have fight again, right? I mean, after seeing all the losing, it got hard. The Athletics, they've now won 4 in a row. They've outscored their opponents 16-7. Starting pitching's been outstanding, 2-0 with a 1.46 ERA. So scoring runs, pitching. I will get into the pitch sequencing last night of how they worked this game, but do we now have it?
I do, yeah.
Can we play this? If you missed it, we got it for you. It was an absolute bomb. Brent Rooker would walk to set it up for Nick Kurtz.
And Abreu throws, and that swung at a high, deep drive to right. Smith is back. He will not even watch it. And the A's win it on a walk-off by Nick Kurtz. A no-doubter up on the berm and right. 3-1 A's.
The video had Korak's call on it that he can't play.
Clearly it doesn't have Korak's call.
Yeah, so I don't know why that didn't work.
All right, let's play it.
They won't hear it on the stream on YouTube though.
What a call, what a night, what a victory. And Nick Kurtz is becoming a very special player. So yesterday, before the game, went down, talked with Mark Kotze, because our good buddy Road Trip Mike, do you know where Road Trip Mike is?
You told me yesterday, but I forgot already.
He's at the College World Series.
Oh, Omaha.
And so Road Trip Mike went through the museum there. And, of course, in the museum there, arguably the greatest college baseball team ever was the 1995 Cal State Fullerton Titans. Pains me to say, because I had to get beat up by the 1995 Cal State Fullerton Titans. I lived it. Mark Kotze was the star player on that team. He was the Golden Spikes winner that year. That's the Heisman Trophy winner of college baseball. And Mark Kotze, our manager, not only had a 17-year big league career, but he is considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, college baseball player of all time. So I went down to tell him how Road Trip Mike saw all his stuff in the museum. And I can't tell you what Mark Kotze said off the air or on the air because it's not appropriate. And it was kind of like, yeah, no blank. I know who I am. He was flexing a little bit on me. He always does. And then we started talking about, how things are going. And I thought one of the most interesting things that he said to me was that, talking about the young guys getting better, and that really is the key. It's where leadership is starting to come from. Because Jacob Wilson, let's face it, Jacob Wilson is a happy-go-lucky great kid. And he is just a phenomenal baseball player. And Jacob Wilson shows up every day, and you tell him, Jay Willie, you just go do what you do. You don't mess with him. You don't do anything. You just tell him you do what you do. Lawrence Butler is a major personality. Lawrence Butler he's incredible, right? He's like this big beacon of light that rolls through. But in leadership, what we learn from some of the great leaders that we've seen in A's history, whether it was Sal Bando, Carney Lansford, you think of somebody like Johnny Gomes, you got to be a little bit of a hard ass. Somebody's got to corral everybody and get everybody pulling on the rope, pulling on the same rope in the same direction. And it's not always easy to be a team leader. And I don't see Jacob Wilson being a hard ass, and I don't see I think Lawrence Butler could. It's not really his nature, though. And Mark Kotze told me he's seeing it now in Nick Kurtz. This is before the home run. He's seeing that Nick Kurtz has leadership qualities. He doesn't like to lose. He expects to win. And he has the ability that players look at him. He's a mountain of a dude. And he's starting to talk. He's starting to be more vocal. And I was like, well, you have this young group of players. When you look at Lawrence Butler and Jacob Wilson and Tyler Soderstrom and Nick Kurtz and Max Muncy now, who is your third baseman, because they activated Gio Urshela, and they said Gio Urshela is going to sub for people and sub for Muncy. Right now, Max Muncy is your third baseman. He's getting the shot. So when you look at all these young players, the guys that are going to be here a long time, well past Sacramento, it looks like our leader is starting to emerge, the dude in the clubhouse, and that dude is Nick Kurtz. Do we have the Mark Kotze talking about it?
I don't have it, no. Sorry, we got it like a minute before the show, so I don't have it.
So we will hopefully have it at some point for you, but that is like really the big story about today is who called him Nicky Nukes?
I think I saw that nickname.
Yeah,
that's
Nicky Nukes. Nicky Nukes. Nick Kurtz. The story just keeps getting better. And we talked about, hey, why are we wasting this kid in AAA? Why are we wasting this kid in Las Vegas? Get him up. So a lot to talk about today with Nick Kurtz, a 447 bomb off of Abreu yesterday for the Athletics to win 3-1.
So the longest home runs prior to that, Yonder Alonso, 431 feet in 2016. And then Matt Chapman and Matt Olson each hit 427-foot walk-off home runs in 2020 and 2019, respectively.
All right, we're going to have Mitch Spence going to be joining us in moments.
So looks like he's on the field, so I told Johnny to come now to do hot takes with us because it looks like they're still down on the field. So,
all right, so we're looking down on the field. Where is he?
I don't know. There's a lot of guys still on the field, so I'm assuming he's still down there.
All right, Johnny D is going to be here for hot takes, and then I have already had a conversation earlier today with Scott Emerson, the pitching coach. We hadn't talked to Emo in a while, and we got him up here, and we learned some things, right? They've been working on the field. They replaced the mound. I guess, there were complaints about the mound was too hard here at the ballpark in West Sacramento. Who was the first guy to complain about it?
The mound?
Yeah.
Was it one of our guys or opposing guy?
I don't know if it was one of our guys, but I guess
I remember seeing opposing guy complain, but I forget who it was.
It was, what's his name, from Philly? Big dude. Great pitcher.
Wheeler?
Zach Wheeler was the first guy. I laughed and went, it's funny. When I was here in November, there was nothing on the field.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So when we were here, there was nothing, right? So all of a sudden, a mound had to be built. Who was paying attention to it? And then my other question is about stuff is like the San Francisco Giants send their players here to rehab. Were they never worried about anything? I don't get it. We're talking about the mound, Johnny D. Yeah, where did the Giants send their big league, like Logan Webb will have to come here and rehab? They not worried about it?
I haven't heard much. I haven't heard anything.
I can barely hear Johnny.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2 3. Check
Turn
1
up
2.
Johnny a little bit. Turn up Johnny a little bit. So we talked to Emo. They've redone the mound.
Nice.
And pitchers are liking it. And obviously we're seeing a lot more success. It feels good having won 4 straight.
Yes.
Outscored the opponent 16-7. And to see the starters 2-0 with a 1.46 ERA. One thing that I'm going to get into, and Johnny, before we get to hot takes, that I loved last night, and I noticed it when the moves happened, you see that the bullpen is made up primarily now of ex-starters. And so what ex-starters, and not all ex-starters, but a lot of ex-starters, but a lot of guys who can go deep into games.
Length.
So all of a sudden, not deep into games, I should say, guys that can pitch multiple innings.
Yeah.
So when you see JT Ginn, or you see Beto, or you see Newman, or Newcomb, or you see Harris, you have a bunch of guys who can give you multiple innings and getting rid of less of the guys that only can go 1 inning.
Yeah, that length is huge. You're gonna have room for the McFarlands too, but you're right. Having length, what JT Ginn did, it was
spectacular.
huge, just huge.
To watch Mitch Spence go 5,
Yes.
JT Ginn go 3, and Mark Kotze kind of talked about it after the game. You're going to hear it from Scott Emerson. I love this strategy. Give me 2 guys, however you want to break it up. Give me 2 guys that can give me 8 innings and get me to Mason Miller.
Exactly.
And if you need the 1 inning guy, Ferguson, who could go 2, Kelly, who could go 2, but they're still there. But give me 2 guys and then give me the big boy at the end.
Absolutely. It's funny. I talked to Michael Kelly about that exact same thing. I said, it's all about getting all you guys together to get it to the big man, get it to 1-9, right? Just find a way to get it to 1-9, and that's their goal, just to get it to him. But you notice how Tyler Ferguson started pitching a lot better once Michael Kelly got here. Like, I'm telling you, there's more depth right now. Michael Kelly has been a joy to watch, and he's been big for that bullpen.
Well, too many times we saw them going with the 4 to 5 pitchers a game, and it took just one guy. Scott Emerson addresses that. One night Ferguson would have his off night. Then Sterner would have his off night. Yep. It takes one guy to have the off night to blow it all up, and they were seeing that too much. That's why I kind of like this. Well, you're a former starter. Go out there. You're going to come in after the starter and give me 2 or 3. Get me to Mason Miller.
Absolutely. Just get it to the big man, right?
Is there a problem? I mean, I love that strategy.
I love it. I think it's great. And I love the fact, Ginn looks so good. That sinker, I love watching Ginn pitch anyway. If you can get 2 or 3 innings out of him, that's a starter, right?
And can you keep him healthy?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if that's the way to keep him healthy, why not?
Yeah, I love it. I like that strategy. I think it's going to work. I'm excited. How you doing, man?
I'm doing one. I was, it's tough getting a hold of Johnny when he's in his town, because obviously he's in his element and he's out and about. I mean, I was walking around in his city. I was cruising around the grounds of our great capital.
And what did you this is, by the way, this is the happiest, this guy over the last 3 or 4 months, the happiest I've seen Towny. He's a happy man. You're loving it here.
You know what? I went by and saw the memorial for the firefighters. So on the grounds of our capital, and I think everybody should, because I know a lot of kids who grew up in Northern California, their schools, like my kids growing up in San Jose, they took a field trip to the Capitol here. I grew up in San Diego, so kids from San Diego aren't doing a trip up here. So this is my first chance to ever see the Capitol, and and I'm staying right next to the Capitol. I love walking the grounds.
Same.
So I saw the firefighter memorial today. I saw the wounded veteran memorial today. I was walking around the ground. I want to see where my tax dollars are going, Johnny D. I was walking around as I went to the Capitol dry cleaners.
Okay.
Yeah, Capital City Chris is all over the Capitol. I'm enjoying it.
C-Cube, they call him. Capital City Chris. We talked about it. C-Cubed.
The grounds of the Capitol is gorgeous.
It is. It's gorgeous.
People are out there just enjoying like picnic lunches.
We got to get Chris Carey over there. I don't know. Have you gone over there, Chris?
shaking his head no off camera.
He's from Florida. If it's not Tallahassee, he doesn't care.
Oh, yeah. It's all about
For you
Orlando
people who
and
don't know,
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee is the capital of the great state of Florida in the Panhandle.
Yes, it is. And they'll talk about a lot. I'm telling you.
More known for football and Bobby Bowden.
You get him on the Florida subject, it's all about Florida.
But he didn't go to school. He's a Georgia guy.
Oh, he's a Georgia guy. He went to school at Georgia, but it's all about Florida. You got to talk about Florida.
Florida-Georgia line because he grew up right by. I know.
Yeah.
The group or the actual Florida Georgia line? I think you're talking about the country rock, whatever they are, rap band.
No, he grew up right next to TPC at Sawgrass.
Oh,
Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida.
So I don't know the geography of Chris Carey's life, but glad you guys know.
Florida? That's the upper right part on the Atlantic.
Yeah,
the World Golf Hall of Fame is right over there.
Oh, I didn't know that's where he grew up, but I know where you're talking about.
Chris, you think Chris Carey grew up in a gated community? Do you think he grew up in the swamps of Florida?
Well, he was.
You think he's one of the swamp? What was that, Swamp Kings or whatever that show was years ago? Those guys are chasing alligators. You think Chris Carey grew up in the swamps of Florida?
He didn't have an airboat. Is that not how they got around?
No. He's never seen an alligator in a gated community. That country club, they don't allow alligators at the country club. Please, are you kidding me? Where are we going with this?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just looking around because the guys are leaving the field, so I don't want to boot Johnny off if Mitch Spence comes.
Should we go hot take?
Huh? I'm ready to go hot take.
Play the open.
By the way, still one of the greatest home run calls. That's gone, y'all. I will never forget it.
Man.
One of the greatest calls of all time. Are you ready for
Julia
hot
Morales,
takes?
legend.
Oh, she is. We have Houston royalty right by where we are right now.
She is an icon.
An icon in one of the largest cities in the country. Yep. Houston's what, the fourth largest city in the country?
Something like it's definitely top 5. Yeah.
We've gone from talking about Houston to Florida now to hot takes. Let's go.
What do you got?
Oh. I have been looking forward to this all day.
David Force is looking forward to hot takes.
Love that.
Every once in a while, you hear a really good sports hot take.
Mark this and remember what I told you. The Yankees will not win the World Series.
The Astros
win again.
Will go.
That's so organic. You can use it anytime. It's evergreen.
June,
the Yankees winning the World Series.
Won't
win the World Series.
Close to top the AL West.
Paul Skeens will pitch in the Major League Baseball All-Star Game this season.
Then you hear some really bad hot takes.
The St. Louis Cardinals are going to win the NL Central. Book it.
Angel Hernandez retiring is bad for baseball.
Aaron Judge will not record a hit this weekend against the A's.
Well, on A's Cast Live, all takes are hot takes. It's time for Hot Takes Tuesday with Chris Townsend, only on A's Cast Live.
Okay, Aaron Hernandez is not going to be retiring.
No. Same initials, wrong guy.
Yeah, wrong guy.
Who wants to go first? Should I go first?
You go first.
All right. I'll just make it quick. Did you see the Rafi Devers press conference today? You weren't grinding the introductory press conference in San Francisco?
By the way, the more this trade, the more we have time to dissect it, and watching a little bit of that press conference today and watching Buster Posey introduce him and everything, I still think it's very rare that you get a trade that works for both sides. The more I think about it, the more I see it. There is no question to me this trade is great for both of them.
Wow.
I think it's a trade that's great for both of them.
Wow.
Sorry to hijack your
No, I'm just going to take it and just say, the Red Sox are better off without Rafi Devers, is my hot take. Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, these guys don't make any money. You got a guy who didn't want to be there because he doesn't want to play.
When you say better off, you think they're going to have more wins because
what's the take?
They're better up long term. They'll be better off because they won't have to worry about paying him.
You can't measure that though. How do you measure that?
That's like him. Who's the guy who said it was going to be an MVP?
That's Rafael. Rafael is going to win the MVP in 5 years. I'm going to glove it on. The Red Sox will be better off without Devers in 5 years when Rafael wins the MVP.
Okay, this is a terrible.
I don't know where he's going with that.
The team's just better off overall.
What does that mean?
Who judges that?
So are they going to win 100 games? Are they going to win the division?
It's just getting rid of the elephant in the room.
How do we measure?
How do you
that?
judge it though? Who judges that? Are they going to make the playoffs? Are they going to? What?
I think that's the clubhouse morale's better.
But we can't judge it.
Mid. That is so mid. Thank you for playing that. That's one of the worst I just think it's going to be better. Well, what if they lose 20 of the next 25, but everybody's happy in the clubhouse.
We got to be able to measure it at some point. You got to give me that. You got to give me like they're going to be in the playoffs, or they're going to
win the World Series.
They're going to have a better record without him than with him, like something like that.
I just think they'll be better off without him long term. That's all. I don't get people say all the time when players leave, but my hot take's bad. But someone says, "Hey, this guy's gone. It's better for the club." Well, that's a great take. I don't get it.
But how do we judge
we're doing
the
hot
take,
takes.
though?
We don't care about other people. We're talking about our takes.
I know. That's why.
How do we measure this? How do we, like when you said Paul Skeens will start in the All-Star game?
You can measure that.
And he did. That's a winner chicken dinner.
Yes. I don't know. I don't know how to measure it.
Well,
all right.
should we move on?
You think about it. Move on.
My hot take is this.
It's like Johnny saying baseball and
yeah, you can't measure it.
Can't measure that. Mitch Spence
is here
out of nowhere.
Hot take Tuesday, real quick.
Spin doctor.
Yep, I'm going to measure it right now.
All right.
This is it. The hot take. The A's are going to have multi-homer games today, tomorrow, and Thursday. And yes, Framber Valdez is pitching. Multiple home run games next 3 games, which means you'll have 8 consecutive multi-homer games, which is a franchise record. Quote me. The A's will have multi-homer games today, tomorrow, and Thursday, which will set an all-time franchise record for consecutive games, multi-homer games. Boom.
All right.
That's my take.
You know I'm from the South.
I do.
I talk about that all the time.
San Diego, yeah.
And Chris always San Diego is south of here.
Yes.
I'm from the South.
Yeah.
So I stick with my southern brethren.
Roots? Yeah, what do you got?
My Tampa Bay Rays. You know all the time I've spent in Tampa.
Yep.
They're surging over the last month. They've won 19 of 25. They lead the majors in runs per game, OPS, ERA, and at the same time, they have 17 sack bunts.
So you're saying they're going to what?
They're playing long ball. They're playing small ball. You know what they're playing, Johnny
what?
D? They're playing good ball.
That's
and you know, I
yeah.
hate the Yankees.
Yeah.
Anything that is against the Yankees, I am for.
Exactly.
My Rays are hot. Were they 2.5 behind the Yankees?
Yeah, they're going to win it.
My Rays are going to upset the Yankees, and they will win the American League East.
Oh, man. Hot take
They're the
Tuesday.
hottest team in baseball. The Rays have 37 home runs in the last 25 games and have the most sacked bunts during that time.
Okay.
They're playing the game the way it's meant to be played. Pitching, defense, offense, small ball, big ball, all kinds of ball. Any kind of ball you like, they're bringing it.
All right. Well, that's Hot Take Tuesday.
Let's get Mitch Spence in there. Rays winning the AL East. Book it. Book it. Mitch Spence is joining us here on A's Cast Live. We are making the transition as he is rolling in. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I can tell you what makes me feel better is watching you in the starting rotation, because you in the starting rotation, you've been absolutely outstanding. How's it felt being back?
It feels good. Obviously, it's a role that I'm comfortable in, and I think the biggest bump in the road moving from the bullpen to starting was going to be the pitch count, and I think we've done a great job of kind of monitoring my workload as I transition to this role. So, I mean, it's been, I'm feeling good, and I'm really excited about being back in the rotation.
I bet you feel you could have gone a little bit deeper in those games too.
Yeah, and I think that's a part where, the coaching staff, the training staff has to take a step back and be like, hey, I know you're really competitive and you want to go back out there for that 6th inning, but in terms of your long-term health, this is the best thing for you.
Yeah.
And it's good that they're doing that and being like, hey, we recognize that you want to go back out there, but it's best if we just take this over time.
Well, as a starter, 1-0 with a 1.20 ERA, 15 innings, 2 runs, 10 strikeouts. Something's different. Not to say, you were very productive last year, but something is you look different. And it's not always about the data and what the data is saying. Sometimes it's about the body language. Sometimes it's about the confidence. We know you're going to spin it. You're going to spin it and you're going to spin it. And that's why we call you the spin doctor. But you've now developed a 2-seamer or whatever you're throwing that can go into right-handed hitters, that can go away from lefties to keep them just looking at certain sections of the strike zone. Something's different. What is different this year about you as a starter versus last year?
I think this time, the biggest thing has been the sinker. I think, early in the season, I wasn't using it a ton. I didn't have a ton of confidence in it. But there was a point in the season where, our pitching staff called me in and was like, hey, this is something we need to really start upping the usage on, just because it opens up, using it on the inner half really opens it up the outer half for the rest of my weapons, the cutter and the 2 breaking balls. And I think that's been the biggest thing, is it protects my true weapons by keeping guys honest on the inner half.
Yeah, because if you're just going to spend everything away from a right-handed hitter, he can just lean over the plate and wait for it, knowing that you're not going to come in. Yeah. And I even thought that the ball last night that came in on Altuve, that wasn't even close. I thought that was such an overreaction. Yeah. And what scares me is all of a sudden that takes away you being able to throw inside.
Yeah. I mean, obviously his first at bat, he was, he had a plan and he was going to look for some spin away. And I mean, wasn't the best located pitch, but I think the first time him seeing my slider, it was like, okay, yeah, that's exactly what he was looking for. So the next time up, it was, hey, let's go in and I mean, I wasn't trying to buzz his tower, but like if I'm going to miss in, I'm going to miss, I'm going to miss in off. And, I missed a little bit more than I wanted to. And yeah, that happens. But I think it did exactly what it needed to, because then the next, the rest of that at bat and then the bat after that, he looked uncomfortable on the cutter and the slider and the curveball. And so, sometimes you got to do that.
So we talk about that 2-seamer coming in on righties. How does it help you now for lefties? Because lefties were always looking, everything's going to be in. You're going to be, everything they're going to see is in. Now you've got the weapon away from them.
Yeah, I think, it's something to have in the back of their mind. Like, it's something that's like, okay, well, that pitch it's moving away and it's hard. Like, I got to respect it at least. And so it's just, it just makes everything else better is the best way to explain it.
So when your journey here has always interested me, because we were in Nashville for the winter meetings when you were picked. And then I'll never forget when you showed up and you were pitching in spring training, and we went down there into the clubhouse, because you can go into the clubhouse during the game and talk to guys when they're done. And you said it best. You go, I want to force the front office to make a tough decision. And you've done just that. And now you're doing it again. So last year it was to make the team. Mm-hmm. Now it's like keeping you in the starting rotation. I mean, you've earned your way back in, and you're making it tough on them to even think about you doing anything else.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole time I've just said I want to do whatever I can to help this team win, and whether that was in a starting role, whether that was in the bullpen as a long guy, as a a leverage guy, like I was happy doing whatever that they felt was best. But I'm glad it's right now it's in the rotation, and we're team's doing really well, and we seem to be coming out of this skid that we're in. So yeah, it's been great.
And we got to give you kudos too, because it's a different mentality coming out of the bullpen versus being a starter and going once every 5 days. Your routine is completely different. How you go about your business is completely different. So go to the mental side of baseball. How tough is it switching from reliever to starter and those different? We try and make it act like it's easy. It's not.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was trying not to change too much of as who I was as a pitcher. In the time in the minor leagues, I was pretty much a starter. So last year it was just, all right, I'm just going to try and pitch the same way I did as a starter in the relief role. And as the long guy, that works really well. This year it was a little bit different because they used me as in leverage situations sometimes. So I'm coming in inheriting runners, first and second and third, less than 2 outs. And it's like, you gotta be a little bit different. You got to kind of go for strikeouts at times. And sometimes for me, I start to nibble the corners a little bit, and that makes it tough because I start missing, I start walking guys. And I think when I'm at my best, I'm attacking the zone. I'm getting guys to hit stuff weakly to get quick outs. And so for me in a leverage situation, it was a little difficult because I had to kind of, rein it in of like, don't nibble the corners, but still attack guys. And that's where I think my strength is. And so that mentality is, I feel like, when I have the most success.
Has the data shown anything about your breaking balls being sharper this year? They just look sharper.
I think the curveball's been significantly harder. I think in the past, like the curveball averaged, I don't know the numbers on it, but like I think it was around 80. This year, I feel like I'm throwing them a lot more, like 82, 83, 84. And then the slider, I think horizontally is a little bit shorter, but I think the average velo is up a little bit.
Can you throw anything straight?
No. I'm trying to like throw a four seam.
Like if I said, all right, you got to throw one straight down the middle, it's got to be straight. Can you do it?
Maybe if I threw it like 75 miles an hour, but if I'm trying to throw it hard, I'm just going to get around it somehow.
So if you had to, I have to throw a strike. Mm-hmm. I have right now, I have to throw a strike. What pitch would that be?
It'd probably be my cutter. I think that's cutter. Like, even though it moves, like I feel like I've been throwing it for so long that I just know where it's going to start and where I need to start it. And so that's the one I probably have the most confidence with.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm so happy for you. You know, watching your journey, you're earning everything you get, right? And that's the way it should be in life, and it should be in sports. And it's been a lot of fun to watch ever since you were picked as a Rule 5 guy and go through that whole thing about being a Rule 5 guy and that mentality and earning your way onto the squad and where you are now. I mean, the numbers tell you no one's been better than you as a starter right now. So continued success. It's a lot of fun watching it. And we talk a lot about it here on A's Cast Live. We talk a lot about it on the post game. And the spin doctor, everybody's falling in line. It's becoming a great nickname.
I like it.
All right, continued success.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, we got more coming up next with the pitching coach, Scott Emerson, who breaks you down, by the way.
There we go.
Emo's breaking you down. We're going to talk
Emo.
to Scott Emerson next, right here on A's Cast Live.
The American League Rookie of the Month for May, Jacob Wilson, joined Chris Townsend and Steve Sachs on A's Cast Live to talk about winning the award for the first time.
Yeah, I felt pretty good. You know, obviously going into it, I had a couple of calls with my dad. He's like, hey, you never know. Could happen. And, just going out there and just kind of playing baseball, just really enjoying the game, enjoying being with the team. And, when I got told for the first time, it was a pretty cool moment for sure. That was cool for me.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast. Get your group together and check out all our great hospitality spaces for bonding opportunities, events, or a fun outing of your friends and family. There are 20, 50, and 100-person indoor suites available for select games, as well as an 80-person open-air area with a shaded cover. Secure your group today at athletics.com/hospitality.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
For just $25, fans can sit in the general admission outfield grass for all regular season home games. Tickets for that day's game will open up daily at 9 a.m. for purchase at athletics.com/lawn. Sign up to receive A's alerts to receive a text the first morning of each home series as a reminder. For more information, visit athletics.com/lawn. A's catcher Willie McIver joined Chris Townsend on A's Cast Live in West Sacramento to reflect on the emotions he experienced during his major league debut.
All the work that came before it, it was just kind of one of those moments that everything comes together for you. The fact that my parents and all the people that have been my backbone through my whole career, from 8 years old on, to be here and to enjoy that moment with them, for me, was what made it all that much better. Geez, I throw the guy out and then 30 seconds later I can go hug my dad, my brother, my mom in the stands, my high school coaches. I mean, come on, man. That's it's a dream come true. It gives me goosebumps just talking about it now. So to be able to enjoy that moment on the field with them after a Gatorade shower, man, it makes everything we've done, it makes it all worth it.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
You're listening to A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Switch the.
All right, A's Cast Live right here from the ballpark here in West Sacramento. Going to have Jason Alexander. No, don't say Seinfeld. Don't say Seinfeld. That'd be former Athletic Jason Alexander. What did he give us, 3 or 4 relief appearances?
Yeah. Remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
No, thank you. Jerry! So Jason Alexander, Seinfeld's still one of the great shows of all time. Jason Alexander, he was claimed off waivers, so he had to, was he pitching Sugarland for them?
Yeah, I believe so.
The Skeeters?
The Skeeters, yeah.
Oh, they're not the
No,
Skeeters.
they're Space Cowboys now.
Sorry, AAA. Houston. They're not the Skeeters or the Space Cowboys. Yeah. So he had to have been pitching down there for a while. He's been recalled. Is he going to be an opener, or are they going to let him go?
I think they might let him just pitch for a few innings.
All right, going up against J.P. Sears, who has to figure out this ballpark. He has to figure it out. So you can change. Folks, I'm tired of hearing about it, because if you pitch in Cincinnati, if you pitch in Boston, if you pitch in Chicago, in the summertime, either ballpark, especially if the wind's going out at Wrigley. But if you're at, I can't even remember what Comiskey's called now, U.S.
Rate field.
Not guaranteed rate.
Just rate.
That's right, because we can't guarantee it anymore. Yeah. We just give you the rate. Coors Field. What am I missing? Philadelphia's a bandbox. There's plenty of bandboxes in baseball.
But those are the big three.
You got to figure it out, right? Yeah. You absolutely got to figure it out. So J.P. Sears has got to figure it out, because Mitch Spence pitched great last night.
Yeah, he did. Very good. Very well. 5 innings. And so he's gone 15 innings in his 3 starts with a 1.20 ERA.
Yeah.
It's been pretty solid since he's returned to the rotation.
Yeah,
the spin doctor.
1-0 with a 1.20 ERA, 10 strikeouts in 15 innings. He's been fabulous. I love this. We're going to talk more about this on NBC. We're going to talk more about this next with Scott Emerson. I love this idea. Get rid of these guys who are one-inning relievers. Forget about it. That strategy didn't work. Get the guys who are ex-starters who you still believe in, like JT Ginn, like Newcomb, like Beto, and you know what? Get ready. We're going to start, like JP Sears, you're going 5 or 6, and we're bringing in one of these guys, and they're going to get it to Mason Miller.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of what you guys.
I love this idea. I absolutely love this. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, we're going to go to emo, yeah.
All right, here is the pitching doctor.
Well, we'll be back tomorrow, because this is going to take us to the end of the show.
All right, what do we have tomorrow?
We're going to have, hopefully, Dallas Braden to promote the broadcast we're doing out in the outfield tomorrow with Jenny and Dallas.
So it took 3 months to get Dallas Braden?
Steve Sparks will be here, the knuckleballer, and River Cat legend.
Old man River Cat.
And hopefully Nick Kurtz.
Nick Kurtz on the program tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully, yes.
And it took the broadcast on the berm to finally get Braden.
Well, I still haven't gone to talk to him yet, so fingers crossed.
If he shows up. All right, here is the pitching coach for the Athletics, Scott Emerson. Time now to check in with the pitching doctor, Scott Emerson, right here on A's Cast Live. It has been a while. Emo, how are you?
Doing pretty good. How are you, Towny?
I am doing well. So lately, your pitching staff's on a little bit of a heater, and the team's starting to play well. You got to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, starting pitching is always a really good key for winning baseball games, right? And our starters have gone out there and given us a really good performance over the last week, and that's really what we need. When your starters go, 5, 6, even 7 innings, it shortens the load in that bullpen, and we've done a pretty good job here of late.
Now, what happened yesterday, and Mark Kotsay talked about it, and we've seen the changes with the guys in the bullpen, but this new strategy, and we'll find out if it's a new strategy, is getting at least 2 guys to give you 8 innings. However that works out, where you saw Spence go 5 and Ginn go 3, you now have a bunch of former starters now in your bullpen who can go deeper in games, or relievers like Kelly who can give you more than 1 inning. Is that kind of like a new strategy going forward, where it's going to be go as far as you can with a starter, and then the next guy comes in basically is your bridge, hopefully, to Mason Miller?
Well, I think if you look at the data, when you're trying to pitch 4 and 5 guys every night, you're expecting 4 and 5 guys every night to pitch good. And last night we got great performances out of 3 guys. And with Spence going 5, Ginn going 3, and Mason coming in and closing it out, you're only asking 3 guys to pitch really good. It's really hard to have 4 and 5 guys be good every night. And when you do have guys that have starting experience down in that bullpen, you can hand the ball off to them, and they're used to flipping lineups. They're used to going a time through the batting order. They're used to facing left and right-handed hitters, and I think we're just going out there and giving the ball to guys that are pitching good with some length.
I really like the strategy. We talked about it on the post-game show. I mean, when we're so used to now 4, 5, sometimes even 6 guys pitch, it just takes one guy to have an off night to really mess up the whole ecosystem of the pitching staff. I kind of like this kind of 2 starters essentially Figure out how two guys can give you 8 innings, and then you got Mason Miller in the ninth.
Yeah, and then you're keeping Kelly and Ferguson and McFarland, the 1 inning guys that are used to 1 innings, but they can go 2 as well. You're keeping them fresher. We had a big stretch, where we didn't pitch good. And we all know that, and we're all searching and trying to find answers. And the bottom line for me is a lot of guys were being used, and we had a time where that one guy had a bad game. We were pitching good, and then that one guy would come in and he had his bad game. And then the next night we were pitching good, and we had that one guy where he had his bad game. And it snowballed where every guy had a bad game, 1 inning and 5 runs for 2 weeks, and then it kind of festered a little bit. So now we're just getting to the point where, okay, we got some guys down there in that bullpen that got some length, and if we can keep the 1 inning guys to 1 inning and maybe not use them so much, let's see how they do when they're fresh.
Because I like the idea. Like what you saw is like, okay, tonight it's going to be Ginn, the next night it's going to be Beto. Like you have the personnel now to kind of have this bullpen of relievers who go more extra innings. The personnel's there. Yeah, we got 2 left-handers down in that bullpen who've thrown 50 plus pitches this season in Newcomb and Hogan Harris. So we got the 2 lefties. We got Abito and Ginn, 2 righties, and then we got some 1 inning guys. So it's a good combination right now. But what's been really good is watching our starters go out there and getting into the 6th. We could have pushed the envelope maybe with Mitch last night, but Mitch is coming from the bullpen as a starter. It's his only 3rd start. You're kind of maybe expecting some dead arm when you're building him. He hit 84 pitches. The last time he threw was 75 pitches, so the pitch count was 90. So instead of maybe pushing him 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 more hitters, you got a fresh guy in JT Ginn who pretty much had 100 bullets down in that bullpen last night. We handed the ball off to him, and he had a great outing. Mitch Spence has been phenomenal since he came in and got into the rotation. He had a lot of starts for you last year. He started in the bullpen and then became a starter. What is the difference? What are you seeing in the data about him this year starting versus last year? Well, I think quality execution of his pitches. He's been able to move his baseball around. He's throwing a little bit more sinkers to his game, keeping hitters honest. But he's got the plethora of spin. He's got spin doctor.
He's the spin doctor. He's got a really good cut fastball, which to right-handed hitters is a hard slider. And then he's got the sweeping breaking ball, and then he's got a curveball. So he's a mixologist with spin for sure. And then if he has that ability to use that fastball to keep hitters honest, and I think that opens up the plate for him. And the more he gets confident in his fastball, which is a sinker right now, the more he gets confident, the more you'll see him use it, the more I hope it will open up the plate for his future. And, you right now hitters, if they're not looking away, then they're not doing their homework, right? We all know that he's going to spin the ball away from right-handers and bring it into left-handers. Now we're trying to help him get better on moving that fastball around to keep him honest. What scares me is what happened last night. Obviously, Altuve, great player. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. He's going to have a plaque in Cooperstown. He hits a home run off you. All right. Mitch Spence in the next at-bat does what you should do. Make him uncomfortable. But he didn't throw it at his head. It wasn't that far inside. It was an inside fastball. All of a sudden, it's panic time, and we're warning everybody. I am so scared for the future of pitchers is that, we talk about how, guys, when they're coming out of high school or coming out of college, they really don't throw inside that much. Well, you can't because the metal bats, it is what it is. It's death inside. And now if we're getting to a point to where in the minor leagues and the major leagues, we're getting warned over something we saw yesterday. It's like, even if a guy hits a home run off me, I should be able to throw inside. That should be available to me. And if the umpires are not allowing you to do that, that worries me for pitching because that means everything's got to be away from the hitters, and we know that's not good for pitchers. Yeah, I just think, the pitch got away from them. Look, we don't condone head hunting anybody, and that's just the facts. In the 11 years that I've been in the big leagues, that's not what we're all about. That's not what we do. We are condoning you to pitch inside, and if you lose one, you lose one, but we're, in no form are we headhunting anybody? I know Mitch, is working on that fastball.
Yeah.
I know he probably tried to overthrow that fastball to Altuve because he gave up a home run on spin and he lost it. To you're saying that it wasn't that close.
Wasn't that close?
I didn't think it was as close, but the umpires are also going to police it a little bit and give out the warnings. I don't think it was justified, maybe, but they got a job to do. It's
time now that you're going to
in the workload, and you're always, a lot of these guys, they'll come down before pregame, and after the throwing program, and they'll come to the bullpen and want to throw even more because this is what they do for a living. This is their career. This is their life. It's called pitching, and they got to keep it sharp. So I don't condone them. I just got to make sure that those bullets are cut down at times when they come into the bullpen. Dan Hubbs, our bullpen coach, has got to make sure that when they're warming up before the game, that, hey, okay, where are you at? Are you good? Let's slow it down a little bit. Let's make sure that our pitches are within reason. And our guys do a great job in the warm-ups. Our guy might get up twice in a game and throw 20 pitches, and that's it. That's pretty dang good. But, your relievers are getting up 14, 15 times a month off that mound for sure to warm up for the game. And then they're getting up, 5 or 6 more times for practice.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta save guys from themselves, right? You gotta settle down, big fella.
You definitely got to slow them down a little bit, but like I said, it's their craft. It's what they want to do, so they want to get in there and work. And we got a great group of guys who want to get in there and work. Sometimes it's just come down the bullpen, get off the dirt with your spikes, and just work your mechanics without a baseball, so you don't have to think about commanding the baseball. You just command your movements and how you're moving.
And that's kind of the unfair process of baseball. Hitters can get in those cages, and they're beautiful cages that we have here in Sacramento. They got all the technology in there and the cameras and all the data and everything, and they can hit till their hands bleed. Pitching doesn't work like that. Pitching, there's only so many throws that you got. When we start talking about pitching here in Sacramento, and there's a few places. You think about Colorado, you think about Philadelphia, you think about Cincinnati, you think about places that are known as Hitters Ballpark. What has it been like talking about the mental side of the game, trying to get some of your pitchers a little more comfortable here at the ballpark in West Sacramento?
Yeah, you definitely got to go out there and feel confident out there. We do maybe think this is a little bit of a hitter's ballpark, but what you have to do is still execute pitches. You still got to, disrupt timing of hitters. You still got to throw strikes, and not just strikes. You got to throw quality strikes, and control the controllables. JP Sears, his last start here, gave up I think it was a 96-mile-an-hour homer down the left field line. He came in and he was good about it and understood, I made a pretty decent pitch. The guy just, beat me to the spot a little bit, hit a fly ball, what we thought was a fly ball, and it went out of the ballpark. That's the ballpark we're playing in. But the other team is pitching as well. So you got to go back out there the next inning, control the controllables, and make good pitches, and either try to get them to go the other way, try to get them to hit the ball on the ground, take a punch out when 2 strikes lets you take the punch out, pitch to soft contact, mix it up. You just got to be a good pitcher here. You can't make mistakes because you'll pay, and the home run makes you pay.
Yeah, I mean, think about Wrigley Field. If it's blowing out versus blowing in, right? Some days it's a hitter's ballpark. Some days it's a pitcher's ballpark. Fenway Park, I didn't mention that. I mean, Fenway Park, the old Texas, not the new Texas, the old Texas. So there have been places, but you got to figure it out how to get outs because, like you said, the other guy's got to pitch here too.
Yeah, sometimes it might be a high-scoring baseball game, and you just got to deal with it. We look at numbers so much. We look at earned run average so much. We look at FIP minus so much. We look at numbers, but the real number that really counts are the W's, right? So you got to try to outlast the other guy. You give up 4 runs and he gives up 6 runs in 6 innings. You outlasted the other guy.
All right, strategy right now when you talk about, using your pitching staff, just talk about how it's different right now with the team winning versus that tough stretch where you lost 20 of 21.
Yeah, losing stinks, as you guys know. It was
by the way,
tough.
everybody needs to know how hard you guys have been working. I've really with Mark Kotze, I know you don't get to watch the Mark Kotze show, but we've been talking about, like, you have to realize this coaching staff has worked so hard and you guys don't play. That's like the toughest thing. It's like you guys, and you could talk about it for your fellow coaches, just how hard you guys have worked during this stretch.
Yeah, it's losing isn't fun. We all know that. But I think we've talked about every time I'm on the show pretty much about the process and sticking to the process. Sometimes what comes with losing is you try to dig even more. You try to find more information. You try to work even harder. Instead of working harder, we got to work smarter. We got to understand that the game is still played on the field. How simple can we make it for the player? And if we go back and we dig up data, I mean, I can go on our Kinatrack system that we have here on mechanics and find something wrong with everybody. We can look at data, right, and find something wrong with everybody. But what we got to do is we got to stay positive, and we have to keep it simple for these guys because it's not an easy game. The players play the game on the field, and us as coaches do the best job we can to prepare them. We got a hard-working group of coaches, front office guys, data analysts. These guys work their tails off each and every day. Our players work their tails off each and every day. So we just got to, stay positive as hard as it can be sometimes because you lose sleep. You definitely, because you want to win. You not only want to win for the team, you want to win for the fans, and you want to win for yourself, and because you're dedicated at your craft. And we're not going to stop working because we've lost a few games. We're going to keep fighting.
All right, this question might seem weird, but how hard is it to keep things simple?
Yeah, it's very hard because your mind is always racing about things you got to do. There is so much technology. There are so much data in this game. Like I said, we can pull something from everywhere and decide that, no, this is the better way. And no, this is the better way. Do you ever have to pull
players away from it going, too much, man, you're grinding it too much?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I had my game review today with JT Ginn, and I basically told him today, if anybody tells you to do something different than you did last night, tell them no. Even if it's me. Remind me, no, Emo. I'm going to go right back to that game that I pitched in Houston. I kept it simple. I used my sinker, which is my best pitch, more often than not. When the game was on the line, I used it. I used my sweeper to get him off. He does have a good changeup and he does have a cutter, and we know when we're going to use it. He didn't have to really use it last night, and his delivery is as good as it's going to be. We don't have to sit around and tinker with any of that. Just be JT Ginn. Be a good version of JT Ginn, and last night it was excellent.
That would be so much fun to watch. Like if you came in one day and you went, no, Emo, you told me I'm going to be that guy that we saw last night. And you'd have to be like, yeah, I told you that.
Yeah, and it's true. It's hard because he's going to have a game maybe that isn't as good doing the exact same thing, but that will probably come down to he didn't execute pitches. And so now just get back to what you do good, execute pitches, throw a good sinker at the bottom of the third, sweep him out there. Now he didn't have that many left-handed hitters last night, so he didn't throw his changeup or his cutter because he didn't really have any of those lefties. He faced Carantino one time, but for him, the way he's moving is perfect. It's perfect for him. And I like I told him, if anybody says you should be moving differently, go back to that game.
Let's end on this because I know you got to go. The one thing that I've known you now for years, we've done a lot of time together on the air. The one thing though, the grind and everything about it, I want people to know you love the teaching aspect. You love helping people. You love helping these guys. And whenever I'm reading like the game notes and I see like Chris Bassett hasn't lost yet this year at the Rogers Center and how well he's doing, I just think of and I know how your current pupils and your old students, how much they care about you and the relationships. I just tell everybody, it's like the teaching aspect, teaching, pitching, and being in this game, it means a lot to you.
Yeah, it means a lot. Sometimes you don't know if they're learning maybe for a few more years. It's fun to see some of the guys that I've had in the past, make a quote that I was telling him 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't even really know he was listening, or I didn't even really think he cared about what I said then. And then all of a sudden he's quoting your sayings, and that's always cool. The old players that I had, I have an older player who posted a quote up at his high school in Southern Cal. He's a coach down in Southern Cal, and I was like, I didn't even know you did that. But it's you want to see these guys go out and succeed so much. Sometimes when you're teaching, there might be times where a guy's just not hearing me yet, and then he's hearing me. It took me a while with Bass, kind of 3 years where we kind of got on the same page. Bassett made his big league debut in 2014, and he really wasn't a solid major league starter till the pandemic of 2020. He was kind of in the rotation. He was kind of out of the rotation.
To the bullpen for a while.
Went to the bullpen. One time he called me in the offseason and said, when the phone rings, that's when I'm pitching. Because he had that I'm a starter mentality. Why do I got to pitch out of the bullpen? Well, and I'm trying to teach him, well, you're one of the 13 guys, and every 2 weeks that paycheck's looking pretty dang good, in my opinion. So you got to, stay in the fight along enough. Then he got into that rotation, and now look and see what he's done for the last 6 years.
Yeah, that paycheck got a lot bigger. It's an outstanding career. You're a special guy. You mean a lot to this show. You mean obviously a lot to this organization and to a lot of the people that you've coached through the years, whether it's guys on this staff or you've helped change people's lives. It's always great to have you on, and don't be such a stranger.
Well, thanks for having me. We just got to keep on grinding.
Dr. Emo right here on A's Cast Live.
Calling all college and grad students. Grab your friends and head to the ballpark with this special offer. Save up to 50% off select regular season games throughout the 2025 season. Get your discounted tickets at athletics.com/student.
This has been a presentation of The Athletics.